60 days to
60,
come
yeah.
for us, right?
Yeah. Good evening. This is the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for Thursday, April 6th, 2023. We're going to call the meeting to order. It's at 7 o'clock. First on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, members present.
Wes Pettit.
John Glenn.
George Slingo.
Maureen Chickering.
Steve Watroba.
Okay. Public hearing is for 15 GNS Drive. Petitioners request a special permit for livestock raising on a parcel less than 5 acres. Are they here? Please come down.
Here?
Oh, right there. That's what. State your name and tell us what you want to do.
My name's Sherry Arena, and I'm here representing my parents as well. They are the owners of the house. So we have 6 chickens, and we need a permit for the chickens.
No roosters.
No.
So just chickens, no
Just
other
chickens.
livestock.
That's it.
Any questions from the board?
Well, the map, I take it you probably provided this?
That's correct.
Okay. Are there enough copies for people in the audience to see this?
I supplied a copy to Amanda.
I did not print enough out.
Okay. Questions may come up because, I mean, it's just a sketch. It doesn't look all that exact, if you don't mind my saying.
I provided what she requested.
Okay, thank you.
Do you plan on keeping it at only 6, or are you planning on adding to it?
Just 6.
I have another question. How long have you had these chickens?
We were asked to help somebody with them last fall. It was supposed to be temporary. It turned into something more permanent, which has now been put on us because the person that asked me to help her can't have them. So thinking that we could, because it appeared that way online when I looked up the information, you know, it's like I said, turned into a more permanent situation. So now that's why I'm applying for a permit.
Can anybody tell us how large your lot is? I mean, it's showing 50 feet and 50 feet, but it's not telling me really how big the lot is
15,000 square feet.
of land.
Yeah, I looked it up on the
Yeah.
assessor's database. It's 0.35 acres, which typically is 15,000 square feet. It's zoned R15, so.
Okay.
Are there any abutters present? Would you like to speak? Can you stand up and state your name for the record?
My name is John Love. I'm at 16 GNS Drive. If the permit is granted, will it be limited to 6 chickens?
We could limit it to 3 chickens. We can make it any amount we want. Well,
Okay, but I mean, it's not gonna be 30, you know what I mean? I'm just,
I can guarantee you that we would not approve 30.
that wasn't, okay. Is the permit gonna require that the chickens be kept from roaming off the property?
We can make that part of the stipulation.
Okay. I would ask the petitioners, how many chickens have been lost to predators? How many chickens have been lost to predators?
To my knowledge, none.
Let's see. If the property were to be sold, is this permit granted to the current owners, or does it actually get, does it go with the property from this point forward, if it gets issued?
That's a good question.
I'd say no, it wouldn't go with the property.
like to provide a comment. I paid for the permit, so I'd like to think it's my permit.
I'm not suggesting that.
No, no, I'm just
asking-
saying, I'd like to think that we would grandfather and transfer it unless they wanted to buy it off of me, I guess.
I'm not sure I quite understand that. I'm just asking if the property is to be sold, does the permit go to the new owners, is my question.
I would say no, but I'd have to check.
That's a good question. We don't know that.
Off at the top, I mean.
Off the top of my head, I don't know that
definitive, we'd have
answer.
to get an answer to that.
I could find that answer out for you, though.
Will that be answered before the permit, if it is issued?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
No permit will be issued tonight.
No, I'm not, that's fine. Okay, I'm just here to ask questions.
Yep.
Okay. What time frame does the permit cover? Does it need to be renewed?
If a permit is given
Perpetuity.
in perpetuity, it would be in perpetuity. Well, as long as they want to have the chickens.
All right, and then finally, does the board have any estimate or whatever about how many special permits have been granted in our residential neighborhood in the past year for chickens?
In your neighborhood?
Yeah.
I don't believe that we've issued any in your neighborhood.
All right, and then, I'm sorry, I meant one more. How about in the town itself? Town of Dudley itself, for neighborhoods comparable to ours that are actually residential neighborhoods?
None in the past year.
Sure. Eagle Drive, or not Eagle Drive, but over in that area, there was one.
Wasn't this past year, though.
No, not in the past year.
Yeah.
No? Okay, well, thank you very much.
Are there any other butters? Please state your name for the record.
Yep, I'm Chris Ethier. I live at 17 GNS Drive. I am in a butter to 15 GNS Drive. All right, so I'm obviously against this, but I would like to say I'm not against farming in Dudley. I recognize that we have a pretty rich farming history in Dudley. We're pretty rural. It's one of the main reasons I moved here, raised my children here. So I'm not against farming. It's just in our neighborhood, we're on 15,000 square foot lots. It's very small. Our lawns abut each other. There's no buffers in between. I would venture to guess my house is probably 40 feet wall to wall to my neighbor and myself. We're extremely tight. We're on top of each other. This is not an area for livestock. It's just way too tight. I've lived there over 30 years. I tend to walk daily. I cannot recall anyone in the neighborhood ever raising livestock. It's just apparent from living in there that this isn't appropriate. This is not a place to be raising animals. The lots are just too small. And if you allow it, it would not be in character at all with the neighborhood. You know, I'm a little surprised that it's even allowed on 15,000 square feet. The lot in question.
Right now, it's not allowed.
Well, it's a special permit. It's a
Yeah.
possibility you could grant it. Their lot is 111 feet in front, 111 feet in the back. Kind of answering your question, how big the lot is. There's 50 feet offsets, as you know. 50 feet from each side gives them 11 feet for a pen. The size of the pen. I mean, that's extremely small to raise livestock. I know right now we're talking chicken, but it doesn't have to be chickens. I mean, I don't see why it wouldn't be chicken, because it doesn't have to be chickens. The point is, it almost forces the landowner to jam all their animals into an 11-foot pen on these 15,000-foot lots. It's just too tight. It's not how animals should be raised. It's just way too tight.
Just for clarification, Mr. Chairman, if the permit was approved for 6 chickens in that coop, once they have the permit, they can't like tomorrow put 6 horses in the thing, right? I mean, it's, right, okay. So I just want to make that clear.
I wasn't aware of that.
Kinda,
So then why is it a livestock? Why does it say livestock?
because any livestock triggers the requirement for the special permit.
Yeah, and you're allowed to restrict.
In other words, they're not going to list in the regulations, they're not going to list every kind, because, you know, somebody could forget to put alpacas in, and then all of a sudden somebody comes in and wants to put alpacas in. So by putting livestock in the bylaw language, that guarantees that any animal classified as livestock triggers this process that we're going through now.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that once the permit's issued, that any livestock can go in their coop. You understand? That's the clarification I'm trying to make.
We can limit it to 6 chickens.
I wasn't aware that you were able to limit it. I was in the impression if you gave them a livestock permit, a special permit to raise livestock,
It's a broad term.
that's a broad term.
Right, that's why we can narrow the parameters. We could say no roosters, we can say, number of chickens.
Well, if the permit is approved, I would request no roosters, please. We already had one over there, and it could come back.
I would agree, roosters are an issue.
Yeah, so, I mean, I would just bring that up.
We've had enough problems with this.
Well, okay, my last point was I just would think it would set a bad precedent if you started to allow livestock into our neighborhood. I didn't realize it could be limited, so that does open an avenue. But I still think it could open up the floodgates.
But
The
it would
lots
be
are really small. We are on top of each other. It's very, very tight.
It would still be a case-by-case basis, just
Yeah.
to be clear. It's,
Okay.
it wouldn't really open the floodgates because every person would still have to come before here unless they have, what's the minimum requirement of acreage?
5 acres.
If they have 5
Yeah.
acres or more, then they don't have to
Yeah.
come here. They can just
Yeah.
put a coop up and.
Yeah, and I understand that, and I'm not against chickens, and I understand that, but unfortunately, we just live on lots that are too small. You can't get much smaller, right? Our 10 is as small as it gets, and we're just above that, just barely. 5,000 square feet ain't that much difference.
Do you know where the coop is right now on this property roughly?
Which one?
Yeah, it's ambiguous. They had a small, used to be a childhood play shed, which is about 5 feet from my property, 5 or 6 feet, 4 or 5 feet. That was used to house them. Recently, they've bought a new coop, and it's not big, so it's movable. And that concerns me for purposes of this 50-foot setback and how they're going to then, be able to satisfy you that it is in fact 50 feet. Now, I don't know if that would be a tape survey, but somehow I would think it would need to be certified that it is in fact 50 feet. I mean, isn't that the normal way that the zoning board works? You need to
Mr.
provide a
Chairman,
survey?
Who's the lucky person who gets to go out there and measure how far a chicken coop is from the sideline? Would that be the building inspector?
That would be the zoning enforcement officer.
Which is the building inspector?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I couldn't say exactly how far it is. It's hard to judge distance. Yeah. Yeah. The old coop I could. It was evident how close it was. But the new one, no.
But I guess to answer your question, the code enforcement officer, the building inspector could go out there,
Oh, okay.
you could make sure that it's 50 feet. If it's not 50 feet, you could say this is not in compliance and,
Okay.
Issue a fine or
right.
Is he allowed on the property without the residents there? How does that work? How does he gain access to the property?
homeowner would like to speak.
Oh,
So I've already spoken with him many times in detail, told me exactly what to do. And just to piggyback off his measurements that he already seems to have, if it's 111 feet and it's in the middle of the yard, my guess is that it's within 50 feet of compliance, and that's exactly where it is right now. As soon as I found out it had to be 50 feet, we moved it.
Why after all this time are we even thinking of?
Could you,
yeah, hold on. So I would just, could I close by saying I'd encourage you to vote no, please?
okay, thank
My
you.
wife would like to say a couple words. Oh.
Come on, Brad.
State your name for the record, please.
Oh, I'm Ann Ethier.
Yep.
I just want a couple of concerns, okay? First of all, along with my husband, I do not wish for this permit to pass. They said that they had no rooster. Well, they had a rooster. And it was, to me, in my humble opinion, extremely disrespectful and inconsiderate to the entire neighborhood to have a nuisance animal like that on the property. This thing was brought in probably roughly 4 months after the chickens arrived on the property. A concern of mine, you did clear up one when you said the livestock is a very broad term, but you did say that you could issue a permit strictly for chickens. Okay. But what about rodents? Do chickens with, scattered feed and whatnot, do they attract rodents such as rats and various other rodents? Because I don't want that near my house. So, with the other stuff that my husband said, those are my concerns.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Is there, okay,
Can I just clarify, your question was, is there a rooster? And I said, no. There is not a rooster. There was a rooster, because unfortunately, when it matured from a smaller chicken to a bigger chicken, it ended up being a male, and the rooster's gone. So, it's not that I said there wasn't a rooster, you asked if there was, and I said, no, there's no rooster. So we're all listening.
Hello, my name is Brad Bennett, and I live at 19 GNS. My question to you guys is, why after, I've lived in the neighborhood for 38 years, since the neighborhood was actually created, why would you guys allow, I don't care, any kind of livestock, chickens or anything, to come in this neighborhood at this point, after 38 years? Why would you change the bylaws or the laws to do it? For
Well-
what reason would you change it? Why?
Speaking for myself, I just found out about this chicken thing tonight, so I can't answer why.
Yeah, but my
I-
question to you guys is, why would you even consider it?
But we're not
There's no-
changing, we're not
there's-
changing the bylaw, the
Well,
bylaw's been the
Let
same.
me finish, okay? The zoning says 5 acres, right?
or
Why would you-
special,
why
or
would-
special permit.
But why would you change it?
Well, to answer your
what
question, everybody in town and everybody in your neighborhood has the right to apply for a special permit. We haven't made a decision, so you really can't be asking us, why are we allowing it? We haven't said we allow
Why
it.
would you even consider it?
We have to consider it.
Oh, you have to
So
consider
this,
it? So
the
zoning-
applicant has gone to the building official, the building official did the right thing and he denied the permit. He said no, that's
So the
his
zoning
authority.
doesn't apply?
That's where his authority ends unless we choose to grant the waiver to it.
So the
And we
zoning,
haven't made that decision.
okay, so the zoning doesn't apply, you're saying?
Zoning applies and we're
Okay.
working within the zoning laws that we didn't write.
So the zoning
The
should,
zoning laws that the town have had for a
the
long time.
zoning should speak for itself then?
And it does,
I hope so.
yeah.
Because it's 5 acres, and you guys should come out and take a look at how close the neighborhood is. And I've lived there for 38 years, and we've never had an issue like this, and I don't see why we should have one now. Right?
Hi, my name is Chris Bartholomew. I live at 18 GNS Drive, and my concern is rodents also. I've been in Dudley my whole life, and we had neighbors 4 houses down from us when I was a kid. And I was friends with one of the boys there, and they raised chickens and rabbits, and they had rats. And we used to actually go out at night with pellet guns and flashlights and try to eradicate them. But they kept it clean, and it's like inevitable that the rats will move in. So that's the reason I'm against it.
My name is Mark Browning. I'm at 22 GNS. Again, like Chris said, I don't have a problem with chickens or people farming, but if you're going to have a farm, then don't move to a neighborhood like where we live. If it's small lots like that, which pretty much the whole road is, sell your house and go somewhere where you can do it. There's rules for a reason. And just like Brad said, I've been here for 15 years. I've never seen anything in the neighborhood like the rooster that was there for 4 months, waking us up, bothering us all day long. The concerns that I have are wildlife, foxes, coyotes. We have wildlife in our neighborhood. We enjoy seeing turkeys and deer. That's gone. If you bring those predators in, which they damn well will show up. I have a 9-year-old daughter. There's young kids on the street. It becomes a safety issue. And this is inevitable, that you can't do anything about it. Just like the rats and the mice. They're coming. I've done pest control for 20 years. I know what it does. It's going to start small and go crazy. And you can't do, even if you keep it clean, they're coming. So, I mean, I'm slightly down the road, but I do feel for these people that are right next door because I guarantee it's going to affect their value of their house. If they were ever to put it up for sale, somebody shows up and they see a chicken coop with a bunch of chickens next door, guarantee they're going to go to the next house. So not only will it affect the value of the house, but it'll affect how many people want to even look at it. But like I said, it's a small lot. I got no problem with people farming. It's great. 5 acres, no problem. Do whatever you got to do. But our neighborhood and our lots are way too small for chickens. And that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have a question. I believe, I'm sorry, I don't know your name on the end.
Wes Pettit.
You just made a remark that we were denied a permit.
You weren't granted a permit.
This is the first application.
With the building official, you went to the building official and asked if you could have chickens?
I did not.
Okay, then why are we here?
This is the first, I was told to call Amanda and be put on the meeting for tonight, and I paid the application fee, and I paid the service fee, and
Oh, I see. Okay, I didn't understand it. It
I
started
just
with a
wanted to
complaint.
just clarify, because I thought maybe I missed something.
Yeah, so then the reality is you needed a permit, but you didn't apply for a permit. That's
Correct.
where
I
we're
wasn't aware we needed a permit, because
Oh.
if you look it up, it says it's a right to farm community, that said you can have up to 6 chickens, so
With
as
5
soon
acres
as
of
I
land.
found out that you needed one, that's why I
Okay.
coordinated
It's
with Amanda
clarified.
to apply,
Thanks.
yeah.
Anybody else would like to speak?
Good evening. Kurt Ledeen, 5 Cardinal Drive. We are the property behind them on the opposite road. Our lot is twice the size or larger than that lot, and I consider my lot too small for chickens. Piggybacking on what other people have said, deer are in that neighborhood and in our yard virtually every day, every single day, every night. One of my concerns is the cleanliness. It will bring rodents, absolutely. Everybody knows that type of a situation will bring in rodents, rats, whatever. The cleanliness of it, chicken excrement is disgusting. It smells. Where is it gonna go? How is that gonna be controlled? Who's gonna make sure that it goes into a trash bag and gets picked up versus dumped in against the back line of my property? So that's one of my biggest concerns, is the mess, and who's gonna manage that mess, and who's gonna see that it gets cleaned up properly. And again, it's a neighborhood, it's a small neighborhood. We're all on top of each other, and there's just no room. And anybody that wants to farm, and I agree with several of the other people, you buy a property with 5 or more acres. My wife and I bought a property in New Hampshire that's got multiple acres, so if we want to farm, that's where we'll do it. Again, we're at just over a half an acre, and there's not room for us to do it, so 15,000-foot lot is just too small. And my biggest concern is the mess that it's gonna make. And who's gonna guarantee, is the town gonna go over there every week to guarantee that they're not dumping the waste, on the edge of our property in the back? So that's about all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm, excuse me, Jane Harry, and I live on 8 Franks Lane, which is down the hill from the property in question. And I think it's great discussion that's going on here. I'm more from just to clarify a couple points that I wanted to make sure of, if this is being considered and how it moves forward. I heard you say that there wasn't anything that would limit the number, and that would be a concern, excuse me, to me, if you were to not limit the number of chickens. And this is specifically for chickens, and it would be, so the permitted use would be 4 chickens for a capped number, not to transfer with the sale of the property, that it's only on the per person use who has requested the permit. No roosters, which would also be important. And I'm assuming, well, what is the purpose of the chickens? Is it to have eggs or just to have chickens? Or, I guess that's kind of to you, but, you know, is it because you have them, or is it for eggs?
A couple of reasons. It's not necessarily for any reason, not for eggs. Quite honestly, at this point, my mother's very fond of them, and she's older, and she's got dementia, and I couldn't even imagine if I had to tell her they were leaving, how that would go over for her. So it's kind of a combination of a couple of things. I appreciate everybody's concerns. I would have to say, there was some remarks about how long they've been there. There's never been a complaint about waste. There has not been a complaint about rodents. There has not been a complaint about the care. And the only complaint so far was equally as disturbing to me was that one of them turned out to be a rooster. And that was quickly taken care of when I found a nice gentleman who has a farm that took him. Because I didn't want him to be turned over to somebody who was gonna fight him or somebody who was gonna kill him. So, you know, it took a couple days and then he was gone. He was equally as irritating to me to hear the rooster outside night and day. Trust me, just like some people's dogs bark incessantly, and just like some of our neighbors have bands that play in the summer, and we hear that all night, and I've never written a letter to the town complaining about anybody else. So, you know, I think that it's getting a little bit carried away with the remarks, because no one is complaining about any of those concerns yet. We're not here for dirt
What
bites.
about,
We're here for
different
chickens.
forum, okay, there's been other complaints, can I step up?
Please step up.
A couple more questions, so.
Yeah, we are digging deep.
So, for the purpose at hand, which is on the request for the variance for this one particular use,
Excuse me,
not
I'd
to,
like to stop this meeting. Very aggressive behavior, if you would please.
Threatening?
Yep. To both of us, to you and to me. Yep, by you.
Threatening?
Yes. This is a normal meeting.
There were no threats.
You staring
Can you
me down.
please,
No, I just-
stop.
And you jerk your head at us. You need to watch that closely.
It's been a problem.
I understand, we're the wrong color, I get it.
Oh, now we're gonna go back again. I was waiting for that. I was waiting for that.
You're gonna let that happen?
This is ridiculous.
Like I'm white.
And
Like I'm white.
we're gonna get in trouble for raising our voice because
Can you
we were,
put the lights-
hit with the cattle prod right here.
I can't even see what's going on out there.
I can't see what's going on.
Hey, bro, stay back. We got this.
That's insulting.
That is disgusting.
It's really scary how true it is.
That's disgusting.
Always go down that road.
So please, do not.
Stop. If you have something to say, stand up and talk at the podium.
Race.
Right now, let's let this lady who's at the podium speak, please.
thank you. So again, focusing on the permit issue, so that it's not a change, we're not looking to change the bylaws of the town or the zoning. It's that anyone who wishes to have chickens on their property have to go through this process of getting a special use permit.
Correct.
Those boundaries that I'm hearing here would be for 6 chickens, and it was kind of put out there. The setback obviously has to be within 50 feet of each boundary of every property. And one of the questions I had is, so the permit itself would define that, all of those specific things. So
Yes.
if this moves forward, or the next step of this after discussion, does the permit come up again so we could see what was contained in the like what are the, what would be in the permit? Because I wouldn't want, in any place, not just in our neighborhood, but anywhere, I wouldn't want to see someone suddenly say, well, okay, you know, you have a conversation and then all of a sudden you have 30 chickens, you know, that each special use is for that specific
Property.
reason and property for that property owner at that point in time.
Owner.
Yeah, for the property owner.
That's why I don't think it would run.
So it's for the resident and not the location.
Setbacks.
It does not run with the land.
Right, okay, so it doesn't go with the location, it's just the resident at that time. You said where the term was in perpetuity, as long as it's that,
Person,
stays with that person. So if they handed it down from family to family,
who owns the house, but
right, okay. And in needing to enforce any of the rules that would come with a permit, does someone from the town, is there like a code enforcement that would go and check and to make sure that,
only upon
you know,
complaint.
it's within the rules of the special use permit and,
That person, zone enforcement officer would go and make sure that they were in compliance, that it met the 50-foot setbacks. After that, unless, he would not go back there unless there was a complaint.
okay. Is there a state rule on things like, I couldn't find it quickly, for things like disposal of manure in the case of deceased poultry, like if there's something that also would go with the special permit if it were granted? I don't know if there's a state regulation on,
That would be separate from any variance. If there's a state law, that stands on its own.
okay, but,
This is just a local decision.
right, but I'm just saying, if there were that circumstance, so it would have to go to whatever the state standing law is
Again,
for
somebody would
that.
have to make a complaint, and I suppose they would have to say, if there was a violation of a state regulation, then they would have to go to see that it was enforced.
Okay,
Could it be, she may be asking about the Board of Health, if they would have to.
Well, they could get involved, okay? But if it's a state regulation, someone from the Commonwealth might have to come in.
okay, and that's quite, I just don't know what, I was trying to find it, and I couldn't see if there was
Could be, I
some
mean-
law of that that has to be followed as well,
it's-
but that's,
May I say, there's only 6 of them, right? You're not gonna have problems putting the manure anywhere, it's gonna just decompose.
okay. I don't,
It's not gonna pile up. I've been on a chicken farm, I know what happens. But that's only 6, it's a very small amount, and you're not gonna have to worry about her dumping it near your lawn, so. And
Oh, no,
actually, it's
I
good-
just don't know what
It's good
the-
fertilizer.
okay. Oh, so in the town for like our residential area, is there a limit or a maximum as to how many special use permits may be granted in, you know, like a square mile or whatever, because,
No.
There is no limit.
so, but each one
Not
would.
like a liquor license or something like that.
Right, well, that's,
not.
I didn't know if, so if everyone in the neighborhood decided they wanted to raise
They would have to
chickens,
come up
they
and
would
get
have
a
to come
special
and go through this process, and we would be summoned to
right.
come in and ask questions.
Everyone would have to, yeah, in that zone.
I'm sorry?
Budding town, where they don't have the rules.
What was that?
I said, or move to a budding town that doesn't have the same rules that we have.
Every town's different, every area is different, so I get that. Okay. And so those are already there. Okay, that was it. Thank you.
Is there anybody else?
My name's Stephen Slick, 25 GNS Drive, Dudley. I'm not in a butter to the property in question. And first of all, I want to just say, you don't think you're getting a fair hearing here, you are. This is in the interest of your neighbors, of our neighborhood. I've been in this neighborhood longer than anybody in this room, okay? 40 years, 39 years this July. I don't think there's any, I'm an original owner of the property. A lot of these people are second, third owners. I've been in this neighborhood 39 years, and I think something like this causes sets a precedent, okay? What's next? Somebody wants to raise pigs in their backyard or whatever other livestock. The bylaws of the town say anything under 5 acres, you need a special permit. I implore you as a group to take in mind the interest of these owners. I was in banking for 44 and a half years. I retired this December. I underwrote mortgages, equity lines, every kind of loan you can imagine. And I can tell you, reviewing appraisals, having something like this, livestock in the neighborhood, a neighborhood like ours, okay, will bring down the neighborhood, okay, in values, people's perspectives. This has been a nice neighborhood, one of the best neighborhoods built by Gunther and Sabai back in the early 70s, Cardinal Drive, Shepherd Ave. I grew up on JB Ave. This will destroy the neighborhood, okay? The integrity of the neighborhood, okay? The master deed that Gunther and Sabai initially drew up back in when I moved in 1984 had in the master deed that you could not have junk cars sitting on blocks in your neighborhood. You could not have a box truck in your driveway or sitting on the street. These were all put in for a reason, the integrity of the neighborhood. G&S Drive, Cardinal Heights is a nice neighborhood, okay? And I implore you, take a drive up. If you haven't been in that neighborhood, it's a nice neighborhood, okay? To me, you need to take into consideration our property values, the issues that they've brought up between other, type of wildlife coming in. And to me, it's just, just one thing leads to another. The bylaws of the town were written for a reason, and I think you as a group to protect our neighborhoods. That's the whole purpose of the planning board, is to protect our neighborhoods. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Just for clarification, we're not the planning board.
Did you say he was number 25?
Why do you need that?
Because he's not on the abutters list.
I mentioned that in my comment.
Wondering why he's here.
He can come, he's a resident.
All right.
Yep. Anybody can come. Donald Trump could go.
Did you say what his name was? I missed it.
Yes, it was. It's Stephen Slick. What do you need that? I've been a resident of this town for 66 years. Okay?
Chicken manure is virtually poisonous.
I think not.
Look it up.
I live on a farm.
Good for you.
Wow.
If there's nothing else to be said.
Okay.
You can Google it in 2 minutes, and it's got pathogens in it, it kills plants, it kills animals, and it can kill.
We use it for fertilizer.
It needs to be composted first, which means it needs to be stayed on the property and composted to be used as fertilizer.
It's only 6
Raw chicken
chickens,
manure
they're
is
not gonna make
poisonous.
enough.
Okay, no more questions from the board, from the audience, butters, no more questions from the board.
I make a motion, we close the public hearing.
I second that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded to close the public hearing, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, thank you.
Well, he must be an asshole, something about it. Did we shut down?
We're still in meeting?
Yeah, we're still in a session. We just made a motion to close the public hearing. Okay, this is the time for us to deliberate.
Thanks a lot.
Talk now.
I don't usually talk.
Amongst ourselves, we can deliberate now. I think we should.
Yep, I do too.
So is the mic off or on?
I'm also of the opinion that I know how I'm gonna vote.
No, I could vote now, yeah.
I'm gonna vote no on this. There's no way. I went over, I've been over there, talking about 38 years. I've been in here for, 34 years. My kids grew up over there, that neighborhood. I know that.
Yeah, we're still on.
There's no way you're gonna allow that. I'm up for it. So, and I don't care what, my family owns a farm in South Dakota, 5,000 acres. So we're farmers too. And I understand, chickens belong, yeah. Chickens, but chicken, of course, that's right, you're a chicken. Right, but the thing is, and it's fine on a farm, that's where chickens belong.
Excuse me, she had a question, George?
Is your meeting done? We just wanted to talk to you. We're with the Ag Commission.
We're still on.
We're
You're still on?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, anyways, let's look, this is what we're here for, is to deliberate. I'm just saying,
It,
I've heard enough.
I feel it is our duty to not, it's our right to grant a waiver, but it's our duty to not grant a waiver if it's detrimental to a community, to the neighborhood.
It's not in
And
character.
that's written in the rules.
That's the statute, the
Yeah.
three-prong test. And
Oh,
it
okay.
fails
Right.
because of that.
That's right.
It's not in keeping with the harmony of that neighborhood. Clearly, no one came here, they only came in here to say no. And all you had to do was drive down that street.
There was one woman who's near the end there, when she was asking the questions, she specifically was asking
That
about
was
if we
like,
could
you know,
limit it to the
I
number
thought it
of
was a
six.
quiz show, so I mean, with her comments, and she's not a direct abutter either. But these direct people here, come on, we can't let this. I'd make a motion,
So, when this vote is taken and the permit is denied,
right,
what's the course of action?
They can sue. They can sue.
No, I'm not talking about the applicant's course of
Thank you.
action.
Good night.
I'm talking about, because the chickens already exist.
Right, we could talk to the zoning enforcement officer, she's in violation, and let him do his job.
So do you give a time limit on how long they
He may
have
to take her to court. If she won't do it, the zoning officer would do that. We go to Superior Court and get an order. Take it, get rid of it. It's his job to do
Those
that.
chickens could theoretically die of old age by the
No,
time that
they
whole
won't.
process.
It's a lot quicker than you think. Roger Dubois got in front of a judge real fast, if you get yourself a good building inspector.
So I can give her my daughter's phone number, she'll take the chickens home.
Well, that's even better.
Yeah.
Is what I'm gonna say. We've got chickens and ducks and everything.
I drove by that house in that neighborhood yesterday, and, I didn't really make an inventory, but there seems to be lots of things going on at that house. There's lots of things in the yard. And I would question even whether all of those things.
I think some of the neighbors kind of alluded to that. There was something about dirt bikes or something. I don't know. So this isn't gonna be the end of the troubles in that neighborhood probably, but this is one thing that I guess the board can solve.
Oh, it's gonna be a lot more.
Yeah.
I can see.
Yeah, they seem to be mad
All right,
about things
let's
that
vote for it.
aren't chicken.
I make a motion that we deny the applicant this request for a variance, because it's not in harmony with the neighborhood.
Do we need to make a motion to vote?
That's what I'm making a motion
All
for.
right, I second that motion.
Okay, a motion's been made to have a vote for the,
To deny.
to deny the chickens or livestock permit for 15 GNS Drive. All those in favor?
Aye.
Alright,
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Did you vote or abstain?
I voted.
What did you say?
I voted with you guys, yes.
So it's a unanimous vote?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, just wanted the rec, 5-0,
So it's unanimous?
unanimous denied.
Yeah.
I thought I heard you wrong, George. That's why I think that's why you're asking him what he
We're
did.
talking that way.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so that's it.
Yeah, well,
Gotta do the
approval of the
minutes?
minutes from November 3rd.
Oh, yeah, it looked pretty good, that was just, that one went on and on, right? Noble Street, did they get over there?
It was ultimately approved, yeah.
But I'm curious, does anybody know if he even got over there? It's been going on for years.
are we being recorded? Our voices?
You're still on, yep.
So we'll make a
I
motion.
make a motion that we accept the minutes as
I
written.
second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Right.
Opposed? Unanimous. Okay, so I want to make a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.